Ojwang, what are some of the things that you've picked over the weekend, the stories of the weekend?
Over the weekend, can we say it is, the message, the corona scare is still on, ravaging, doctors dying. Vis-a-vis the non-response. Remember, it is the last week that the Parliamentary Health Committee found and faced what the doctors are undergoing, leading them to even crying. There is the strike notice, and the doctor said, we know if you go to court to compel us to work, we have enough provision within the Health Act to say that the environment is not conducive, and so we will stop working anyway, whichever way. Over the weekend, back and forth, what is really going on with the Building Bridges initiative? That has been our conversation of the time. What is going on in Uganda, in Tanzania? Is East Africa community or East Africa region becoming a little more intolerant? Looking at what is going on in America, are they out of the wood yet? Are they still fighting? Are things clearer or still muddy? It is a laundry list that I can't give all here, but it's a laundry list. Thanks.
In Uganda, what's happening? What's going on? Anaona Bobi Wine amepigwa na mzee Museveni.
Yeah, remember we talked this the time you sent that timely theory by the professor, who is saying that really, when has our politics been about ideas? And if it's not about ideas, then who is to blame? And if it's not about ideas at this point, you find that then, he was giving a case where you will go to Iganga, and I like that analogy because it's similar to what I see. And before you finish selling your policy agenda, the Wananchi have formed a line. And that line is not in support of the policy, but give us some money. So that reality then is it even logical? Are we assuming, and every election we assume people have been elected because people like their agenda or their platform. Yet we know very well that Wanjiku is the biggest mischief here. This is the person who takes the money. This is the person who goes to that same so-called secret ballot and vote for person because they gave him or her 100 and come and complain for another 5 years. We are seeing excesses of Museveni and Kosevo, the level of entitlement, the historical conversation that Museveni had with Mandela, when Mandela told Museveni that he's contemplating resigning from presidency. And Museveni said, but Chief, people love you. And Mandela said, that's the very reason I'm resigning, when they still love me. So that is a different philosophy, because for Museveni, you stay until they can't stand you anymore, and then you stay some more. But Uganda is in a tough situation. As East Africa community, it appears that the politics and the democracy is actually rolling back. We are seeing the rise of dictatorship or the rise of cracking on opposition or dissent, and it's not looking good in Uganda. Kenyans have stood up, Kenyans have spoken. This Bobi Wine young man is really causing a lot of fear in NRM, who are not taking it for granted. But in the process, last week, there were about 40 people who were killed in Uganda. 40 is not a small number for politics. It's so, I mean, we really wish that we stand with the Uganda people to say, no, Museveni, killing people and torturing them and ending their life for politics is not fair. Let opposition have a room to sell their policies without fear or intimidation. Thanks.
All right. Lucia, what are some of the stories that you picked over the weekend?
Top of my list is the situation in Ethiopia. No one is really talking about it. I don't know why. The African Union is quiet on it. It's been going on for a while. I think the entire year. There's a region called Tigray, and there are rebels there, and there's a lot of fighting. So Ethiopians are the irony of this situation is that Ethiopians are running into Sudan for refuge. The irony of it all. But it's very concerning. I don't know why the EU would issue a statement concerning the American elections and not issue a statement concerning what's going on in Ethiopia, what has been going on in Uganda, what happened in Zimbabwe and Mozambique. You know, there's a lot of human rights that are being violated at this given point, and I don't like the fact that human rights are being violated. I like the fact that young people are disturbing the status quo. Like, young people all over the continent are just disrupting things that have been in place for eons. Neolithic things, Neanderthal things, you know, Stone Age things, manenos like Museveni, Stone Age human being, fossil, should go home. I also learned that Bobby Wine's wife is called Barbie, so it's Bobby and Barbie Wine. That's a very good rhyme, eh? Match made in heaven. I have also seen the various, coming back to the country, I've seen the various groups that have come out to reject the BBI. Baba, Raila Odinga bwana. Hii yako ni ndege yenye tunangoja kwa meli.
Hello, mafurahi.
It's never taking off. I'm so happy that Kenyans are woke, Gerald. I'm so happy that Kenyans are woke out here. Kenyans are seeing through the lies of our politicians, and it makes me so happy because we are on the way to liberation. Daktari is looking at me like he has something negative to say.
It could be negative, it could be positive. You never know. You can never tell.
Yeah, so I'm glad that Kenyans are now focusing on the things that really matter to them, you know, and the BBI is a non-issue, so it doesn't matter to anyone else. Also, I have, what else have I picked up?
I also saw Magoha has been sued, Matiang'i.
Oh yeah, Matiang'i has
na
been
pia over
sued
the
by...
weekend nilisikia kuna security ya Magoha alishika jamaa a journalist mahali mbaya.
Alishika mahali mbaya. Magoha kona drama mtu wangu. Magoha is so dramatic. I'm feeling sorry for the man.
The security.
You know, no. When Ruto's motorcade killed a child in where we said it was Ruto. We didn't say it was Ruto's driver. So let's put the blame where it should be. It is Magoha, not Magoha's security man. Hiyo ingine itaenda kukua debated in court. In the court of public opinion.
Unajua Juang ni mudi ya Magoha.
Ni Magoha. I know. Na unaona tu venye anataka kuniangalia. Naona venye ananiangalia.
Is Magoha guys.
Anasikia ni kama anaweza ni tackle by the way. Anyway, Magoha is about to find out that the higher you go, the harder you fall. He's about to fall. You remember Nancy Baraza? Who even remembers her right now? So, Mr. Magoha, I'm really sorry. Maybe 2 years from now, we won't even be mentioning your name anywhere. Not even in the newspapers. Akufungia nyama. Another thing, Gerald, that I'm really concerned about is the morality of our school kids. There were some school kids who went missing.
Yeah. Somebody they're taking a break to go and have some fun.
Oh my God, I was really concerned about that. Gerald, if my 12-year-old niece went missing for 2 hours, I lose my head. Nakuanga mwenda wazimu. I cannot imagine not seeing my child for a whole 2 days. You know, you have no idea where they are. There are so many pedophiles out here. Sex slave trade is thriving actually worldwide over. It's very important for us, and this is what I'm always advocating for. I think I have a grasp of a lot of things because I had a relationship with my parents where they'd sit me down and they'd talk to me about anything and everything, including sex. And it really helped me because when I went to campus, I didn't have that extra excitement. Now I have freedom. And I think it's very important for parents to start having these conversations with their children. We are living in the internet age. When you don't talk to your child, they run to Google. Whatever is in Google is not credible all the time. So it's important for parents to sit down with their kids and talk to them. It's also important for parents to make sure that environment is conducive for your child to feel comfortable enough to come to you and say to you, hey, daddy or mommy, I've met so and so online, and I want to go meet them in person. So just so you know, this is where I'm going, and this is who I'm meeting. I think we need to have that kind of parenting more, rather than ile ya kuchapwa na kuambiwa don't do it, because we are curious beings, and especially when I tell you don't do it, ndio unatakanga kwenda kuifanya sana. So it's high time that parents will sit down with their kids. We've had a whole year due to COVID. These are some of the issues that are now coming up. Parents are now knowing their kids. Hawajuangi watoto wao. Anapigiwanga simu na mwalimu anaambia unajua mtoto wako amefanya kitu fulani, and then they're like, no, that can never be my child. So now parents are learning their kids. And it's very important when you see your child making a mistake, the first thing you do is ikue kumzushia. Like sit down, talk to them, understand where they're coming from. Have a conversation first. Because when you blow up the first time your child has made a mistake, then they know the next time they make a mistake, you'll do the same thing, and they'll never trust you enough to come to you with their problems. And that is all these girls needed, with their curiosity. They needed to sit down with their mothers and have conversations, and just settle that curiosity in their mind with some credible information, just have a fallback plan. But when all your information, the information that you're relying on is from the internet, man, you're really messed up. Kwa sababu hii dunia itakufundisha vitu. And I'm saying this because I was in high school with a girl who later on, when we were in campus, was sex trafficked because she was into online dating. She was sex trafficked. And there was a time videos of her doing in the adult film industry just showed up in the country, and she was actually, it was BDSM. I don't know what it is in full, but it's just very weird stuff that is I don't think was meant for Africans.
Hiyo ni nini kwanza nani?
Bonding, sadism, something. It's the rough kind of.
Unajua vitu mingi sana
of sex. No, I'm saying this because it's someone I know, and we actually had to changa for her to come back. The parents did not know where that child was. Walikuwa wanafikiria mtoto wako Nairobi, and that kid was in the USA. She didn't have her documents with her. She didn't even know where to start from. If it was not for a former schoolmate mwenye ni dynasty, man, I don't know how that child would have come back home.
Quite tricky. But it's, who do we blame? Do we blame the parents, or who do we blame?
I don't think it's a matter of blame, Gerald. I think this is where we go wrong. The parents are trying to afford their children better than they had. And in this fast-paced world, a lot of that time into careers. We want to have the money so that our kids can have a comfortable life. So we end up not really focusing on the parenting side of it. We are focusing on the economic side of it. We're not looking at the social parenting bit of parenting, and this is where the problem comes, because mtoto atatoka shule 6 jioni, akaya afanye homework, by 9 p.m. they're asleep. You, the parent, are getting home at 10 p.m. You don't get to see your child leaves the house at 6 a.m. while you're still sleeping. When you leave the house, your child has already gone. So mnaishi nyumba moja, but you don't really get time to interact. And I think that is one thing that should be intentional. No matter how busy your schedule gets, I think you need to just create time to interact with your child.
All right. Ojwang, let's pick this up as well with you. Who do we blame on this? Because parents wanamunulia watoto teenagers 16 years, 13 years old phones. They're on internet every day, they're on social media, they're doing they're seeing the funny things that are on social media. They're seeing these girls, the socialites with big booties displaying them and all that. They're seeing all these things, boys, all over. All these things are on social media. And you never take time to look at what your child is doing on their phones. And before you know it, and because that's the avenue where these guys are being taking advantage of and luring the girls. They don't do it out of any other place. They check out the activities. You find these days, the other time there was some girls and boys who had been arrested in some garden in Nairobi. I think it was Meshuggah Gardens, or which gardens and all that. And the things they were doing, they were crazy. And these are children who are in school. And their parents, they don't ask them, where are you going? They don't see what they're doing on their phones. And where do we fall in terms of parenting? At what point do we say we give the children the freedom, to be at na simu, .com, have the phone, you're also there, you're also giggling and grinning on your phone. Your daughter who is studying also is also giggling and grinning on the phone with someone else. Where do you draw in the balance on parenting?
probably not so much in terms of blame, but if we are to blame, then we can blame everybody.
Yeah.
Even those children.
Yeah.
Because coming from Machakos, finding their own fare, carrying their own wine, it was a bring your own wine.
BYOP, bring your own poison.
Bring your own poison party. Those children have failed themselves. Parents have failed themselves. The society have failed them. The adults that probably coordinated have failed them. But you know, I'm looking at a place of a child in an African society, including even the African Charter for Children Rights, that the Africans thought that, you know, a place of a child in African society is very precious, is very important. There is a lot of aping and copycat. The adults are copying, the children are copying, the teenagers are copying. We are a society that like copying things. And then one of the things that people are copying is the irresponsibility that Yella is showing. I'm thinking that, you know, we have values like it takes a village to raise a child. Parents have become so individualistic that they can even question teacher, how did you answer my child? And that parenting style that is so advocated for by the modern parent, that even grandma cannot question your child, an uncle cannot question your child, unamwekelea.
Even the neighbor.
Mimi ndio najua venye ninaongea na Junior, what happened?
Jaden.
And Junior will be there saying, this is what really happened.
Jaden and Liam Baba.
Yeah, so you and your child need to go to jail and bond there some more, because you have refused help. Any grown-up that try to tell this child, you can't be out here this time, or they are meddling. Kids are just being kids. No, kids are not being kids. These are people, kids involved in adult things. So I think there is enough blame to go around. There is enough blame to go around, but I think the most important thing is not the blame, but the solution. I think that if you look at our African Charter for Human and People's Rights, we don't just talk of a right, but also responsibility. I think that the part of responsibility is weakened. Do you know, you find these children don't even have a chore. It is that mom who will come from work and cook and wash things and serve them. So the role of responsibility is low. The role of social parenting, as Ayala have said, and you know, Africans are not so much obsessed with the biological parenting. Who is your parent? No. You can have 10 mothers. That woman who sits next to you in the church is your mother. That teacher is your mother. That person who gave birth to you is your mother. That person of Mama Mboga who saw you from your child and see how you are growing is your mother. It takes a village. I look at it in a very interesting way, because when I was growing up, when you did something wrong, my mother will not say you are bad. He will say, who has taught you to do this? Meaning that it is about being taught.
Yeah.
And you know, that is very philosophical. All these things Magoy is struggling with, I don't know, competence-based. Within African culture, they are there. Who has taught you? In fact, even when she will be spanking you, her yelling will be, Nani amekufunza? Meaning that she knows as a child, you are there to be what? Taught. And you have taught yourself a certain way. And all we are contesting here is somebody has taught these children the wrong thing, or they have taught themselves the wrong thing. So who has taught you became a clarion call. You know, try answer a grown-up. You'll be asked, nani amekufunza kujibu mtu mkubwa hivyo.
Na sayo umeulizwa swali.
Yes. And so who are you going to say amekufunza? You know it's not your mother, it's not the dad, it's not the home. So are you going to say TV? Meaning that let us look at this thing as education. You know, we have derogated education to classroom, library, chalk, blackboard,
Books and
duster, pen, and report card. Real education is informal. It's in the neighborhood. It is in the village. It is in the churches. It is at home. And that is where real education comes. That's where values are taught. That is where children must be comfortable. So I'm looking at this situation where you find a child growing up and raised by TV. I'm a princess. Like there's one I ask, is there any princess in your family? Line tree. And by that time, her dream of princess was torn apart, and everybody was looking at me like a monster. But I was telling her, why will this child look at some cartoon from Disney World and walk here in Roysambu that she's being a princess? She ain't gonna be a princess. The best. You are somebody. You are so and so from this village. You look like your aunt. You will go to school. You are a Christian. Forget this drama you see on TV. So I think there is a role for education. And when we talk of education, let us not derogate education to classroom education. Let us think of education broadly as informal education. And again, to reiterate that, if you come to my village and you find things that don't add up, the grown-up will simply say, is there no people to teach these people how to do the right thing? Meaning, education is about getting information that changes your worldview. Curriculum. What is curriculum? It is the way you are socialized. And that curriculum is going to manifest in your older age. It is going to influence how you think. It is going to influence how you behave. It is a vehicle to carry you to a certain disposition. That curriculum, if you are raising children and you are seeing something suspicious, don't gloss over it. Don't just think that because you don't know what is TikTok, then you cannot be a parent to this child who is advanced. Sit them down, talk to them. And I look at it. At some point, corporal punishment was taken, and I teach human rights. I like the African Charter, which said discipline is important. The Bible says spare the rod and spoil the child. There is so much sitting in a corner can do. Oh, John, sit in a corner for 5 minutes. Within 2 minutes, John, you amerudi ameenda kitchen. John, go back to your corner. Where is slippers? Nonsense. Chukua kiboko chapa mtoto. It will not kill this child. Some of us were beaten, and I think we barely made it simply because we were beaten. Sio hata maombi. Maombi inasaidia, but the fear of Cain. Because as a child, you are consequentialist. You are thinking, ningefanya hivi. Ningerusha huyu mtu na mawe. Lakini boy, venye nitashikwa nikipatikana hivyo, wacha tu. But now if there is no consequences, because this is a child, yes, they can reason, but they reason like a child. Ati unamwambia sasa wewe, these are the pros and cons, yes, but guide. If you have somebody who like chicken and you give them chicken to raise, atakula hiyo chicken.
Atakula kuku.
Don't allow this child, ati they are having dates. Ati a from 2-year-old boy and girl are having unsupervised dates kwa mall. They're just hanging out. Those things, you watch them in the movie, your grandmother didn't do it, you didn't do it. You and your child, the one who was found with the liquor and nini, should be in the cell now and be a cellmate. Then maybe we can have real parenting. Or if you like, mnaweza enda kamiti pamoja, mtumike pamoja. You can be big corn together.
Jera, there's something Dr. has said about the curriculum.
About curriculum.
Curriculum.
Hey.
Curriculum ni moja.
Being
ni mingi. Curriculum.
Curricula is the plural.
Yeah.
So there's something Chimamanda said. I love that lady. I love that lady because she tells the African story the African way. She says whoever came up with the alphabetical table and whatever represent the chart yenye tunaonanga watoto wakifundishwa shule, A for apple. You know, that person was living in a place where kulikuwa na a lot of apples. It was an apple farm.
Yeah.
So he looked at it, A for apple, and he related that to B for boy, you know, C for cat, because they had a cat in the house. Now, wewe kuja huku kwenyu, you come from Shitsuitui village, the only thing you see ni mahindi na maembe na mapera. You've never seen an apple in your life. Alafu unaenda shule unaambiwa A for apple. Why can't they tell you A for amahuba so that you can relate to
Amakorongo.
You can relate to your village life. You know, the things that you do. If they tell you M for makalava, you know, you eat makalava almost every day, especially when beans zimetoka kwa shamba. Makalava is those matawi ya maragwe. So when you say that, when you tell me that, then it sticks in my head. Because the person who came up with that chat alikuwa anatry to relate to the things that the children see every day. So wewe unakuja hapa na kiboko mwalimu unanitwanga bila aibu kwa sababu sijui kusema A for apple. Show me where those apples are. Show me. The problem is we don't customize things to fit our context. We just go with it. We just, it's cool for I understand why it might be important for your child to have a phone, but then I really think kuna a lot of controls that need to come with that. It's a huge responsibility. It cannot just be given to any child. And let me tell you something. Kuna mtu hapa Max ameuliza ati kwani wazazi ndo wanafaa kudisana change in a child's behavior. Let me tell you, ni wazazi wanafaa kudisana a change. I remember I was in class 4 na kulikuwa we used to be a gang of friends. So kila mtu alikuwa na siku yake ya kuspoil mabeshte. Na unajua mimi hizo siku nimetoka dynasty pesa kidogo pale nyumbani kalikuwa shida. I had to steal money to go spoil my friends. Turns out on the day that I stole that money is the day my mother realized her money has been stolen. Because before my cousin was stealing money from her and she had never realized. So on that I was whooped. Mimi siku hizi ukinituma mahali na naweza pewa receipt, I ask for that receipt so that I can come back and account to you, because that theft was whooped out of me. Ile kuchapwa nilichap. I was beaten, nikapelekwa shule, mwalimu akaambiwa, my neighbor was told, you know, like I'm a product of a village. It has taken a village to raise me. Nikiona mimi, when I see my neighbor coming and I know I am doing something wrong, or I'm in a dark corner with a boy, hata sahi niko mkubwa hivi, and I see my neighbor passing by, do you know me ushtuka niko like,
so actually kumbe unakwanga kwa kona.
Mama. Lazima hizi vitu ni lazima tufanye Gerald bana. Mimi si msafi kama pamba. I'm human.
Acha tusome wanachora. Leo umeamua kufungua roho. Acha tuangalie maneno ya wazazi na mambo ya Komarok. Na acha nianzie pale juu nimeona acha niangalia naona
Gerald
anasema
hii tabia ya watu ati the neighbor comes and brings your child, anakuambia mtoto wako amefanya kitu, and then wewe unaanza kugombanisha jirani badala ya kudeal na mtoto.
Kwa deal na Jayden.
It's killing the ubuntu that we were raised with. Well, Gerald, right now, if your father's friend found you doing nonsense, unataka kuniambia atakuchapa somo?
Nakumbuka tulikuwa tunalimuanga bwana. All over, right, left and center. Na unarudi nyumbani tena unalimu wengine sasa.
Unapatikana kwa barabara ati unacheza after school, unachapwa na jirani, alafu unaenda unasema kwa mzazi wako, tena mzazi wako anaongeza hiyo kichapo.
Lakini siku hizi
nani amechokosa Jayden? Nani amechokosa Jayden? To beat my Jayden. Do not punish my Jayden.
Daddy kababa. Najua siku hizi wanasema babe, wanasema bwana wako mkubwa ndio babe, alafu mtoto ndio daddy. Yes. Naona Joel Rama anasema group yetu ya diaspora DM for invite link. Tafadhali tumia message Joel Rama watu wa diaspora ili akuweze kukuingiza kwa group ya diaspora. Watu wa diaspora wanasema wanataka kutengeneza tackle yao ya diaspora voices. So kama uko diaspora unataka kuchangia kwa uendelezaji wa nchi yako, tafadhali ongea na Joel Rama, ataweza kuambia nini litafuata. Just as tunasema good morning team Joel Rama, Gerald Bitoki Canada that you know. All right. Max Kimani anasema they just representing supporting their parents to the fullest. Hiyo ni mambo ya Komorok anasema what we are seeing there is a reflection of the parenting. Komorok Kenya parents are to blame because we don't have time with our children at all. We are busy throughout the week and leave all the work to teachers and aunties, house managers. Just as our parents have left the parental rights to house helps absentee parents. Keep it out anasema Lucia, too much. PDF najua ni PDF. Kama Kenya anasema Max Kimali very true, we are parting parents sherehe kila siku mnapiga sherehe mpaka siku hizi wakati wa curfew. Now parents have moved the sherehes to the homes. They are drinking alcohol at home, watoto wakiwa pale. Just as must spare the road spoil the child, children should be disciplined. Mkenya mashina anasema Gerald Bitok, hata wewe unajua vitu mingi sana. Mimi usijui kitu, mimi ni innocent boy. Mike anasema Gerald, we are still waiting for your invite and Sairo to tackle. We set the record straight on where CCM headquarters is. Nasikize mwetu ielewe kutatuambia ni wapi. Keep it Charles anasema Lucia has become the Discovery Channel. Sharif Pina anasema we shouldn't pretend. Teenagers have been involved in orgies since 90s through peer pressure, especially in urban centers. Quite interesting, Sharif. William Mwangi, I think parenting nowadays is very difficult. We hustle a lot and have little time for our kids. Balancing hustle and job isn't easy, bearing in mind that you need to work hard to give them a good life. So some of us have more than 3 jobs which need you. The wife is also very busy, leaving your kids without help. The little time you get, you take them out. They need to swim, ride quad bikes, and have so little time to talk to them. It's very complicated in this country. It's very sad. I think things have really changed. Lucia sema asanteni wadau, lazima tupiganie Kenya. Maxi sema if coping is the issue, then even our dressing should be thrown out of the window. It starts with their parents, period. That's true. Mkenya mashinani anasema our good Dr. Ojwang closely resembles Honorable Tom Ojwang of Ruaraka and legend Otieno Kajwang. Just amply they related. Atatuambia kama wako na uhusiano wa aina gani. Sagong Mbaga sema there are parental controls that can be applied on smart devices. These control systems are normally
believe all was Lucas live.
These control systems are normally applied on company computers and their website that are censored. The same can be applied for smartphones, iPads, laptops, and computers that are the possession of our children. All right. Max so it takes a parent to discern children's change of behavior. I think this was a statement, not a question, actually. It says it takes a parent to discern the children's change of behavior. That's true. Frederick Eric Sachs says the environment is diverse and dynamic, but the buck stops with the parents. You can influence the behavior of your child positively no matter the situation. Lucia says I'm working Wikipedia. The random facts I can shock you. Hey. Evans Gedana says curriculum. All right. This is a maximum. It takes the entire village. Mike Tani, I love how Daktari pronounces curriculum. Kiround Manedos. Reply to your this is the tackle of the day. Well, wait, well. Max charity begins at home, whatever that means. Aben Kiasema, hello tacklers, good morning. Parents don't have time to care for their children. Watoto ni wambocho. Peris Wanjikunjiri, kamsaidia hapa daktari wa watoto kumedhoka. Akuja kabisa atuambie kunaendaje pale. Mike tunasema Lucia Ayala, we are on the same boat. Once told to impress my friends. Siku nyingine aliba. Sisi tulikuwa naibanga baidi tunaenda kuna kula pool bwana. Siku nyingine nilishia karibu niuliwe bwana. Just anasema parents are to blame for moral decay in this society. Just anasema the parents are to blame. The parents have no time for their kids. That's true. Silas Tarus anasema for sure we are spoiling our children. These rights are making them spoil. Just anasema thanks Lucia for speaking frank and fearless. I belong to that school of thought. Lucia anasema very true. Isaac anasema you guys are doing good work. Keep up informing our people. Thank you so much. COS anasema tandika hii mitoto, spare the road to spoil the child. Charlie Kinyo ameweka nyumba yake ndani, anasema pokea special salams asubuhi ya leo. Adanson Kironza, I like the way Dr. Ojwang is articulating issues. Very brilliant mind. As a teacher, I'm grasping some ideas. Zako anasema Adichie Jinamanda Ngosi, quote was straight on. Lucia hapo sawa. Alright guys, wacha tuangalie magazeti alafu tukirudi tunajua itakuwa vipi. Tuone watu wa magazeti wameenda wapi leo. Na magazeti vipi alafu nikirudi kunaendaje. The Standard, tuanza na gazeti ya Standard. The Standard inasema the horror of what? Inasema horror of teens in party orgies. Shocker, 2 arrested after police stormed the house party, seized 14 children and recovered alcohol, bang and used condoms just a day after outcry over missing girls. But it's a blow to public servants as rules tightened. Retirement extension: civil servants who attain the mandatory retirement age of 60 will from January proceed without the benefit of an extension of service as the Public Service Commission stamps its foot on application of the laws. Big wigs red card alert for MPs in new BBI proposal. Shrewd calculations. Naona gazeti na Standard G na kwanga imetengenezwa na nani? atatuambia kunaendanga aje. Alright, nasema Shurut calculations. The positions of Prime Minister and two deputies proposed in the BBI Building Bridges Initiative report have raised the stakes in the political party leadership at the constituency level, with top leaders and some governors now setting their sight on capturing the seats. Wale magavana ambao wanaretire sasa wanataka kwa bunge ndio wakuje kuwa prime minister. Now Muslims give their stand on reform. Religious leaders say no to a process that is not elaborate and inclusive, adding that changing law is not a priority. Tutarudi hapo. Stark choice about or die from cancer. Woman got pregnant while undergoing chemotherapy for breast cancer and thus began to race to save mother or child. Funding crisis at school, plan to reopen all classes. Financing headache. The government is staring at a huge dilemma ahead of reopening as teachers also push for additional money to plug deficits occasioned by COVID-19. Kwa mambo ya watoto pale, nimeona kuna pombe hapo, naona pombe imejaa, pombe. Inasema out run a birthday party invite via secret Instagram pages. 44 children aged between 11 and 17 seized marijuana, alcohol, used condoms found at the scene. Most of the teens were already intoxicated. Some came from as far as Machakos and Kericho. Akianani. So umeachilia mtoto wako huko Kericho. Umeachilia mtoto wako mpaka akuje mpaka Nairobi. Wazazi wengine wanafaa wapigwe, wapangwe line, wapigwe makofi. 41-year-old woman and a son in police custody. A DCI had warned of gangs luring girls online. That's quite interesting. I mean, how can you let your child all the way from Kericho to Nairobi? Daily Nation, now People Daily nasema aura of city teen sex and drugs ring. Hiyo ni kitu tumeshaangalia. Nat issues January strike warning if teachers are not paid their dues. Interesting time. Teachers are striking. Na pia madaktari wanagoma. Pay 2, the public officers in national county governments have been thrown into a spin following a new directive that all workers of the endangered minority of 60 must resign. In mambo ya retirement, shilling 6.5 medical cover question at NHIF. Unfolding scam involved a single sourced insurance contract for 100,000 civil servants and NYS staff. 6.5 billion scandal loading. Kenya lazima kuwa na skandali kila siku. Alright, naona A Promised Land, how Michelle rules the roost at Obama. President Barack Obama was the world's most powerful leader, but he writes in his new book that he knew which buttons to press at home as his wife is firm and takes no prisoners. Kenya ni ngumu. Classes under 10s threes in COVID-19 crisis. Wanafunzi wamefungua shule lakini hakuna madarasa. Learning faces long and dreary days when they resume classes next year with social distance protocols making an already bad accommodation crisis worse. Wanafunzi wanasema people staff the primary school in Lunga industrial area in Nairobi on 4th November. Watoto hawana madarasa ya kuweza kuisomea. How state neglect its killing its doctors. For Kenyan healthcare workers, the call of duty as the country's frontline soldiers in the fight against COVID-19 is akin to suicide. Top specialists are losing the battle to the virus almost daily, further denying the country the top brands it requires. But this has been coming with the government and counties keen on other priorities. Economy broke Kenya to dance to IMF's tune on funding. Facing a biting cash crisis, Nairobi will have to implement tough conditions imposed by the International Monetary Fund to top up public pass. By the way, Kenya inataka kwamba loan nyingine ya kuweza kuwasukuma hizi masiku kidogo. Law review will BBI team bid August 2021 cut off. The constitution cannot be changed less than 1 year to a general election, which in this case, August 2021. As of for consensus on the contentious issues in the BBI report feds, former Dagoretti South MP Dennis Waweru, who together with Suna MP Junaid Mohammed, co-chairs the secretariat, was yesterday still awaiting communication from President Kenyatta and Raila Odinga on the way forward. Interesting time to be alive. Guys, umesikia magazeti? Anything you can pick on the headlines? Let's start with you, Ojwa.
Yeah, there's an alarm on the number of single parents. Mm-hmm. You know, there is research, whether you want to call it data, if you don't want to live the way the conventional society live, if you want to live by science, that a child grows better in a family of father and mother. That does not mean that those who don't have that arrangement are doomed. But in generality, it is a good thing. And so society prefers marriages. Society prefer sex within marriages. Society prefer that child grows with a parent as much as possible where there is a mother and a father. That does not mean there is no widow, there is no single lady who was abandoned, but that is the general architecture, and it works better. We know that there is a lot of push for comprehensive sex education. That has been a big debate in this country, opposed by the Catholic Church and other conservatives. The comprehensive sex education have simply trashed the celibacy and the message of sex should wait until marriage or maturity. They have called that message backward. They have called that message unmerited, because we live in a generation where people can access condom to avoid pregnancy and to avoid disease. So there is a lot of contestation there. And we can see that play up. It's just another way that somebody will bring up and say, if parents have failed to talk to children, then let the school teach them, and then let us revamp our curriculum to cover comprehensive sex education. Generally, I will argue that the Western countries are staring at much more crisis on children and teenagers than Africa. There have been stories of a pact of about 30 girls who decided, let us be pregnant in high school, things like that. If the Western society is the problem, they cannot at the same time be solution. I think that is logical. That if you are the problem, you cannot at the same time be the solution. If the Western lifestyle is the problem, it cannot at the same time be the solution to child upbringing. The Bible says, look at the olden paths and ways. That does not mean those ways cannot be modernized or customized for today's quick and world. But still, there is the principle. The principle of, yes, individual autonomy, but the child responsibility must be anchored within the family so that the child knows their role in the family. When we're growing up, every day you'll be asked, what have you done for your people? And that means even if you are studying, you see why it is going to better the society. This extreme individualistic that a child should not know anything except my toys, my want, what I want, have also raised people who are not responsible. I think the other story I wanted to comment about is that we have seen what is going on with the BBI. So what will happen? Suppose, for example, Deputy President is convinced that there is consensus in BBI. Will it then be a good document? And that is the challenge that probably I could ask most of people who are opposing it now. For myself, myself was Duncan. I will oppose BBI in the elevator. I will oppose it in the sitting room. I will oppose it in the bedroom. I will oppose it in studio. I will oppose it in byway and highway. I will oppose it here. I will oppose it there, because there is no need to have such a comprehensive, as the Muslim group said. This thing is as about, 20 or something constitutional amendment. It touches on every chapter except 2 of our constitution. And there is mischief there. Whoever thought of amendment did not think that that means you rewrite a constitution. Mr. President, you cannot talk of a constitutional moment and you are talking of an amendment. If it's a constitutional moment, come with a new constitution already. You cannot be patching, imepigwa kiraka, unajua zile nguo za ushago, unapata mtu ana viatu imepigwa kiraka 6. Kiraka on top of kiraka. This is what they want to do with the constitution. So constitutional moment call for new constitution. If you want, if you feel that we are in a constitutional moment, I think we are in corona moment. But if you think you're in constitutional moment, don't use that Article 257 and 256 to patch up everything. Now, the Muslim pointed things that we have been talking and consistently, but they put it in a very apt way. One, if the mischief in this country have been imperial presidency, and I contend that it has been imperial presidency. If there is anything we need to watch, is the imperial presidency. The presidency that is not checked. The presidency that can and not just coming with clever argument. Has this BBI whittled down the power of presidency? And the answer is no. The answer is no. It has enhanced it. They are saying it has touched on some philosophical, the constitutional architecture. For example, the constitutional architecture is telling us under Article 10 the issue of sustainability. Is this thing sustainable? The constitutional architecture is talking of separation of power. To what extent are we mudding or not articulating proper separation of power? It's telling us about access to justice. To what extent are we weakening the judiciary? If you started with 9 points problem and you end up with judiciary at the end, which was not one of the 9 points, then at some point your research went haywire in the middle there, and some interest took precedence. So I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at even those who are pushing for it. They are faking it, fake it until you arrive. You can see that the price is, this is the only way I can do politics, and at whatever cost I must do this politics, because if I don't find a vehicle of doing politics, especially the invitation is for, if Deputy President could oppose it, that will be a Christmas gift for the architecture of BBI, because that will simply mean they can simply be us versus them and use the state's machinery. Now, it is not a good thing to piggy bank and make the constitution where you are boogeyman, where if you want to do your politics, you go and then set your politics. It's not political hygiene, as Mutunga said. I'm thinking that at this point there's issue of compromise, and there's the fear that is this thing going to pass, because there is intelligence showing that the thing is not popular. But you see, I think for ODM the issue is not whether it is popular or not. People opposed Kibaki's constitution and he failed, but at the end of the day he was able to determine the succession. So the price is not whether it succeed or not for ODM. The price is we are together with president and we fight, and whether we remain, we can be there saying, damn, we have failed like big dogs that we are. So how do we then work on 2022?
Let's talk about the timelines, Ojwang. They have said that you cannot change the constitution 1 year to general elections. Are these guys going to manage to beat the deadlines before 2021, August?
You know, I think they are running out of time. Of course, they will try to enhance it. The issue of signatures. Do you think one signature will account for all the 20-something provision you want, or people should give consent to every provision on that issue? I think one signature cannot at the same time, because I'm seeing a situation where people will come and say, you know, I signed that 1 million signature, but I like money in counties, but I don't like Prime Minister. And so that is another challenge they have, because it has bundled a lot of issues unrelated as one. Secondly, the IBC is not well constituted. In fact, the IBC can go for advisory and say, I don't think we are ready. This thing of pressurizing IBC and telling them you have 1 week to check my signature. Where do IBC have master signature for Kenyans? Where? So they are going to check it upon what? And you are giving them 1 week, and there are 3 commissioners and a few workers. So you can see that there's a lot of processes there that are going to be rushed. Now, if you take it through and check your signature and you bring it to counties, can counties, are you simply telling counties they are voting robots that they cannot amend or discuss? But if they are to discuss and amend, then you have to give them, the constitution actually give them a time frame of about 3 months. So everybody thought that for convenience they would have preferred parliament. All right? Everybody thought that for convenience they would have preferred parliament. It is quicker, in and out. That consensus they are building, let them not go through popular initiative, let them go through parliament, then we can say parliament after all has been under the executive, mumeifanyana huko juu na hizo mambo. So that if they go through the parliament route, and I'm seeing them possibly going to reroute this thing, but you see that will not render the issue of this thing has been sanitized by Wanjiku, this thing has tumepigia siasa juu yake na tumepata political capital. If they go through parliament, remember both routes, whether you go through popular initiative or parliamentary system 256 or 257, it must go through parliament. Is parliament properly constituted to undertake constitutional amendment? Remember, they are barely hanging by thread. They have that injunction that is telling them, don't go home yet. We are looking at what Chief Justice Maraga did. It will be very easy for any lawyer to say, even as you are giving them grace to check and to stay, are you going to allow them to amend the constitution? And I think most courts will be willing to say, no, you cannot undertake such a serious work. So in short, we might be looking at the end of this bad dream. It is bad dream because I think if by February, if by January, mid-January, Raila will take off running. He will realize hakuna kitu hapa. He will go and organize his politics a different way. And so maybe stalling it could be one of the measures. They are running out of time. And Bitok, I like what our court have done. Because as they run out of the time, they will try to rush these things. And court will not allow it. Because those times are prescribed in the law. Those times have measures that they protect. And so the integrity of process, it must play out. And if it does not play out, then the court will simply say you have not gone through the right process. So it is a time of anxiety for those who were seeing constitutional moment. But it could be a good thing that the constitution could live to see another day.
All right. Lucia, you pick up anything on the newspapers?
Historia BBI is so exhausting. It is so exhausting. It's not moving us forward. It's actually stagnating us. I don't understand the rush. One of our guests here said it took over 30 years to come up with the current constitution. And now 10 years later, we already want to change it. We've not even, hatujafikisha threshold at the time that it took to come up with it. I don't understand what the hurry is. If it really is something that is good for Wanjiku, then it can wait up to the next election cycle if they want to implement the expanded executive. But as of now, I don't see what the emergency is about with the BBI report, with the referendum. It just feels like tunachezwa, tunaharakishwa kwa sababu tunachezwa, and it's just not right. The whole thing is illegal. The whole document is illegal. The process was flawed from the beginning to this point where some of the steering committee members are even disowning the document itself. It's pure madness. We don't need to waste our energy anymore talking about it.
Haya, tuende kwa nataka tuchukue video. There's a video of the SUPKEM guys just going to play in the video ya jana, alafu tukirudi tunaweza kuangalia pia, alafu turudi kwa psychology ya Ojwang, mambo ya Uganda pale. Tutajua vipi alafu tafunga bwana pale nje.
The constitution is the property of the Kenya citizens. It does not belong to individuals. The individuals have got borrowed powers given by the citizens. The constitution is the property of the Kenya citizens. It does not belong to individuals. The individuals have got borrowed powers given by the citizenry. It is delegated power that the leadership has been given, and the instruments of powers have been given to them. But that the sovereignty comes from the people of Kenya. It is shocking that just in 10 years, the political leadership of this country have forgotten that we struggled for 20 years to put the 2010 constitution in place. And all of a sudden, they have arrogated themselves the powers that they don't have even within the constitution. Yeah. That two individuals can come up, shake hands, and they believe that they carry 40 million people's opinion. And they can come and say, we move forward with them. We have nothing against the individuals. We respect both of them. One is the head of state, the other one is leader of a major political party. We have a lot of respect for them. But at the same time, we have to be candid enough to say the truth. What is the truth? Neither Raila or Uhuru, for that matter, can make decision for 48 million Kenyans. It is the Kenyans to come up and speak for themselves. That's what happened when the 2010 constitution was put into effect. There was a process, there was discussions, there was consultations, there was validation, and the final promulgation of the constitution. Unless we go through a process like that, whoever brings it up, we are going to get to agitate within the people of Kenya, and we say no to it. The process that was done before must be followed, and no two individuals can dictate to us. And that is partly why we have got a fear of this constitution, because it is dragging us towards imperial presidency. The constitution is the property of the Kenya citizens. It does not belong to individuals. The individuals have got borrowed powers given by the citizenry. It is delegated power which that the leadership has been given, and the instruments of powers have been given to them. But that the sovereignty comes from the people of Kenya. It is shocking that just in 10 years, the political leadership of this country have forgotten that we struggled for 20 years to put the 2010 constitution in place. And all of a sudden, they have arrogated themselves the powers that they don't have even within the constitution. Yeah. That two individuals can come up, shake hands, and they believe that they carry 40 million people's opinion. And they can come and say, we move forward with them. We have nothing against the individuals. We respect both of them. One is the head of state, the other one is the leader of a major political party. We have a lot of respect for them. But at the same time, we have to be candid enough to say the truth. What is the truth? Neither Raila or Uhuru, for that matter, can make decision for 48 million Kenyans. It is the Kenyans to come up and speak for themselves. That's what happened when the 2010 constitution was put into effect. There was a process, there was discussions, there was consultations, there was validation, and the final promulgation of the constitution. Unless we go through a process like that, whoever brings it up, we are going to get to agitate within the people of Kenya, and we say no to it. The process that was done before must be followed, and no two individuals can dictate to us. And that is partly why we have got a fear of this constitution, because it is dragging us towards imperial presidency.
That is Abdullahi Habdi, chairman of NAMLEV. Very quickly, your comments on that, Lucia. Lucia. Your comments on because I think that guy has really brought out the fundamental discussion. I actually like the way he has articulated it. It's very simple, easy for anyone to understand. Power belongs to the people. The politicians borrow this power. We actually lend our power to them. Tumewakopesha. So they shouldn't go ahead and think that they can use that power to come and abuse us. The consultation process was not. You know, Gerald Datasanye, Ipsos Synovate wanafanya poll, there is a percentage that is acceptable as a sample size. I don't think 7,000 views is an acceptable sample size in a population of 47 million people. What percentage is 7,000, honestly? You know, it's like it's walichukua tu a certain group of people and then they went and sat down to go make decisions for the rest of us, 47 million of us. Hapo hakuna kitu wanaambia mtu, and you can actually see the disconnect in that document with the reality. So the Sheikh has just put it out there very well. Come to us, let us tell you, go sit down, formulate policy, come to us, let us tell you again. You know, invite us to the table. Don't go, decide you want to eat ugali matumbo, alafu ukuje utulazimishe tuikule. Tulikuambia tunataka ugali matumbo. Pengine si tunajisikia tu kukula fruit salad dio siku, ama pia tunaweza lala njaa tukunywa maji. Who told you we want ugali matumbo? Joan. At least you brought us samosas today. You're not saying ugali matumbo.
No, I know all of you wanted samosas. Nani hakutaka samosa hapa ndio mkono.
Leo tumefurahi kabisa. Leo tumefurahi kwa kabisa auntie.
Yeah, so what the gentleman is saying is profound. You cannot be a people by yourself.
Yeah.
Simple. When we talk of people, it connotates more than two. So you cannot be a people by your, however popular you are. Because otherwise, we are not a country of rules, we are a country of individuals. The whole genius of Constitution was to metamorphosize us to be a country of rules and institutions and not of individuals. And that institutions mean we, the people. So you cannot be a people by yourself, with your good self or bad self, however big you are or small you are not the people. And the people then, you cannot start a process that is parochial, narrow, and then you bring it to people to justify through Article 257. Look at the case in Nakuru Court. Omtata is saying, why can't the government also fund this constitutional review? It makes sense. If it is the two people that their constitutional vision is being funded by the state, why can't our court be funded? Why can't my vision of the constitutional amendment or my experiment be funded? So, I mean, we must accept that does the consent to vote for somebody in 2017, Gerald, is a consent that this person will now do everything that pertains to my life as they will. Is that the value of consent? Because even those who are arguing that, let us be honest, these people carried our votes to do what? Was that vote to change the constitution?
Yeah.
Was that vote to uphold the constitution? I think it was a vote to protect and uphold the constitution. When they carried the Bible up on air, they said that I take the oath. Look at the presidential oath in that constitution. Look at the oath that the Right Honorable took with the people.
Which one? The one for Miguna?
Yeah, the Miguna oath. The oath B. All of them is to uphold the constitution, not to mutilate the constitution. So it is quite a stretch to say that because people voted for you for one thing, I mean, is it even fair to expect that because you are somebody's parent, then you have the children permission to do anything you want about them? I don't think so. It is the stretch, and as Githu Muigai will say, I'm using the word stretch in its most stretching way, elastic form. So we, the people, is still our constitution. You cannot use taxpayers' money. Initiate a process that is yours, that we all know what is eating the country. The question is, how did you get to know? Is it intuition? Is it by experiment? And once you have known, then you go through a process, and then you now want to railroad it back to Article 257 so that watu waamue. We are not just there. It is like you walk on the street, two people are arguing their own argument, alafu wanakusimamisha wanakuambia, sasa wewe hebu amua kati yetu who is right. I don't want to decide. I don't want to be in yes or no. I don't care about your constitutional moment. It is not mine. It is not joint. That vote you got,
You can deal with your own constitutional moment.
Yes. So then the attempt to now railroad it to Article 257 at the best is let people decide. Where did the report come from? The report did not come from heaven. The report is a process that the SUPKEM said, that process of picking. Do you remember when we were growing up and in a team you'll say, hey, Gerald, your side, Duncan's side, kila mtu pick watu. We kuja. We pia una pick. That is what happened to this gentlemen that were running this thing. Alafu usually, especially if you didn't know how to play, you will be the last one to be picked. Unasikia wanasema we enda hiyo side.
Ama wasema kulikuwa na gwani alikuwa anaitwa Mweru. Walikuwa anacheza mahali pote. That's the weakling. Ule umekosa laini ndio naambia sasa mahali unapatana na mpira piga.
So this is how the teams were picked. That is not a people process. That is a person process. Wewe hiyo side, mimi hii side, to pick nani atakuja hii team. That process is irredeemably, and no amount of self-cleansing can save that process. So that is what the SUPKEM chair is saying. The Muslims spoke very well. Usually they don't come out clear like this. And you know, I saw the tune of people like Wetangula who are saying this thing is ready. Now they were saying we cannot ignore some voices. The same to Mudavadi. Consistently, though it has been naggingly, but he has been saying, well, tusikizane kidogo, and then now he is maintaining that. I'm thinking that they're speaking for the head of state, who feels that this thing is going to be embarrassing. So we the people, and I insist that we as the people, Pinyo Wacho, we are the honor of this country. We are the owners of this country. We decide what works, what does not work. We will tell you when we want a new constitution. We will tell you when we are tired of this constitution. And what we are telling you for now is respect this constitution. Do not use handshake to mutilate, to FGM, the holy constitution that we struggle for. In the name of, as long as Baba is okay with it, we are okay. No. This country, if Mandela, remember what Winnie Mandela and Mandela argument.
Yeah.
You know, Winnie Mandela told Mandela, just because you were jailed for 24 years, you cannot come to jail and give Boas everything and say that if it makes sense to you, it makes sense to us. Mandela, you are not the only one who suffered. I, as Winnie, I was suffering here. So if Mandela could be questioned, and if Mandela could be told you have sold the country by coming with consensus and having this walk where they were given Nobel Peace Prize, but sold the rights of the Africans, which Kina Malemba are now trying to bring back, there is no individual who can become with the people, even as powerful, as famous as you are. And finally, you know, we need to make use of what we read in schools. Everybody in Kenya who have gone through high school, have gone through set books, have gone through fasihi, kioo cha maisha ya jamii, have gone through literature, isn't it? If you read the book Shamba la Wanyama, or The Animal Farm, and I have a line here, it had become usual to give Napoleon the credit for every successful achievement and even stock of good fortune. You'll often hear one hen remarks to another, brother, under the guidance of our leader, Comrade Napoleon, I have laid 5 eggs in 6 days. Or you'll hear 2 cows enjoying a drink at the pool will exclaim, thanks to the leadership of Comrade Napoleon, oh, how excellent this water test. You know, ilikuwa tu ni upuzi shamba la wanyama. Oh, this PBI is good, thanks to our leader. You saw in my heart what I needed. How could I have even lived one day without BBI? that kind of shamba la wanyama. So here is a hen who have laid 5 eggs. It takes a cock and a hen. There is nothing to do with Napoleon, and he's testifying among the hen group that under the leadership of Napoleon, imagine 5 eggs in 5 days, 6 days, and the cow is saying this much, and I like how it sounds even in Swahili, shamba la wanyama mkimwa and all that. Haya maji ni masafi, haya maji, this water tastes great because of the great leadership of our comrade. What was happening there? People were simply lying to the kings. People have accepted that Napoleon has become with the people as we are seeing them. So make use of this literature. You paid some money, at least hata kama ni charge bursary, kuna 20,000 ulilipua ukafanya hizi literature. Tumiaga hizo literature and look at your country, because literature and fasihi ni kioo ya maisha ya jamii. Look at it. And finally, George Orwell conclude by saying that the test, this is what George Orwell says, that the test of liberty is to say to people what they don't want to hear. The test of liberty, if we have liberty and freedom of speech in this country, is to speak truth to power and say, you might think it's a constitutional moment, just like some people go to labor room and think it is time for labor, but it's constipation or it is gas. And they are clearly and well directed and said, you might think you are feeling contractions, but believe me, you are not, it's still not there. We will not be the cows who are saying the water tastes sweet, the BBI water tastes sweet, because as cows, we have our honor, the comrade, the leader, have given us this water. Have your mind. And that mind means that prioritize your things. You are barely having oxygen in hospitals. You can't breathe. You don't have economy. Things are going haywire. Politics is confusing. 2020 is an year of survival. Whether you'll make it or not is almost 50-50. We don't know whether the world will remain the same as we know it. Yet, tell me of which country decide that that is the constitutional moment. In the world, not in the galaxy, in this world, which country will look at all these challenges and decide that all these challenges mean one thing? Constitutional moment. It doesn't make sense.
Acha tusikie video nyingine tukirudi.
I need to say that those who come here talking about NRM this, NRM has a lot of money, waning. Power is for keeping. It doesn't matter how good you are. Obote was a wonderful leader. Obote didn't steal. Obote didn't steal any money. He didn't build mansions. He didn't know. But he lost power twice. Idi Amin was a wonderful leader. Look at what he was able to achieve. But Idi Amin understood Sinoraj. He understood Sinoraj. That's why he built the UN, the building, the embassy in New York, in Japan. He built airports, underground airports. But he also didn't know how to keep power. Museveni knows how to keep power. He does. And he's not going to leave it like that. And he say, oh, you know what? You have too much money. He's not going to leave it. You know, listening to some of these MPs and some of the things that you are saying, I asked myself a question. Do you have to be an MP? Is politics the only thing you can do? If you don't have money, you go. If you want ideas, go to university, set up a think tank, go to Chikubo. There's a lot of ideas there. Yeah? Why are you here saying politics? The Ugandan frame of politics is not for ideas. It's not. How many ideas do we see in parliament? How many? Yeah? I have been to Mbale during elections. I've been to Soroti. You start speaking, you tell me this is wrong. As soon as you start speaking, people queue up, waiting for you to finish. And if you don't have money to give them, they'll burn the place down. Do you genuinely think that you are going to reverse that trend? Listen to this. Those people who want money, haven't they democratically chosen that they should receive it? Are they not voting with their demand? Why don't you want to give it to them? If you don't have it, choose another profession. Let those all go and work out money, and when you have enough, come back and stand before them. Now, I heard somebody saying that MPs are buying ambulances. My son is an MP in Mubende. And I told him to buy ambulances for people. What's wrong with that? Your illusion is that government is the one to sort out our country. Is that politicians are the ones that have solutions. You are deluded. The government is not going to do no such a thing. The government will focus on keeping power, and you can't blame it, because power is for keeping. So, you know, if I was in power, even in your own home, can I come and say, you relinquish power, let me stand here and we share it and you agree? So do you think NRM is crazy to want to relinquish power? You get a vote, a piece of paper, you drop it in a box and government falls. Really? That is delusional. Now, my brother Mugishamuntu, you might not know, you are a brilliant, brother Mugishamuntu, you are a brilliant politician. You are intelligent, you are humble, you are strong, but look at how they have fought you in FDC. Yeah? Why don't you talk about that? If you can't have cohesion in the own party that you started, how was this power achieved in 1986? How many people voted for Museveni to come to power? It was achieved like this. You are busy swinging. But now, how do you want it to be given out? So, it is true that we should go to areas and sensitize people, and I wish you good luck. But I would like to be there when you are really making a presentation telling citizens in these villages who hardly have money to buy posho and saying, we won't give you money anymore. You have to vote for us on account of ideas. What a joke you are thinking. What a joke. Okay. Now, there's a brother who mentioned that I talk about whites. What is whites? Who are the whites? There are no people called white. I did not. I talked about the Anglo-American Empire. Most white people are in the same boat as us. You know, America has over 26 million poor people. Some of them live in tents. And those of you who talk about corruption, I think you are giving Africa fake news, a bad name. Let me give you corruption. In 2008, when the global economy collapsed, how was it achieved? With subprime mortgages. Getting a building like this and giving you a mortgage where you pay $100 a month so you can walk away. And getting these mortgages and student loans, putting them together and creating a collateralized debt obligation. Then getting these rating companies, the so-called Standard & Poor, Moody's, which come and rate us and everybody quotes it in the newspaper, useless organizations. And they rated these CDOs, they gave them AAA rating, the same as government bonds. Then they got AIG to ensure and sell it to external investors. How much money was lost globally in every economy created by these so-called thieves and robbers who stole a whole country? How was America achieved? They stole the country from the dark-skinned Native Americans. The Rapahos, the Arawak, the Namahoe, the Grunchi, the Tiano, the Tokoma Sioux. They killed them all. And then you stand here now to give us an example of democracy. If Uganda has chosen its own brand of democracy, based on you having vote wealth, we talk about bride wealth. Can you go and complain that they have asked you for 100 cows? And if people, they might, yeah, we will, you know? Yes, we can. Why don't you say like Obama, yeah? You keep Guantanamo Bay and still say, yes, we can. Yeah? You invade other countries and say, yes, we can. But that is the oldest semblance of European military intelligence written by a fictitious character called Homer in 580. Why fictitious? Question mark, because the Greeks were not writing. But all these Greeks studied in Africa. Or Plato, who wrote several books, and Aristotle, who accompanied Alexander the Greek. We don't call him the Greek because he was a murderer, a thief, everything. So we call him the Greek. He xeroxed most of the writing that he found in Africa. So please do not bring Aristotle, or, these are children compared to us. Me, I study Sheikh Anta Diop, So I don't study Aristotle.
Juang, I'll start with you because that's your philosophy of thought that we usually see. Break it down first.
I think I've seen this guy before. He's a professor, I believe. And he's one of the opinion we call in jurisprudence realism. Realism means real. Sindio? Real. When somebody says things and then he say, but anyway, real ni.
In real.
Yeah. Because he's saying we are fantastic phonies and fabulous fakes. Words like democracy, freedom, rule of law, constitutionality, constitutional moment, all boils to I want to keep power. And I like how older men were able to hear through their spouses many complaints. Wewe umesikia hapo huyu mama anataka viatu. Leso. Hata anasema anahitaji mtoto mwingine. They were able to hear through a lot of smoke screen. This guy is saying that realism is that when you go, and you have gone to political rallies, The other time I was reminded of Haminwa, senior counsel, who ran for, I think, Kamukunji parliamentary seat. He went to the podium, took out 200 shillings and said, don't vote for somebody because he has given you this. Vote for them because of ideas. When he came down the dice, the young man ran and said, Ebulete hiyo 200.
Ile ulikuwa unatuonyesha.
Meaning they missed the whole point. That is what this guy is saying. Before you even finish, you know, when I was running, somebody told me, I know you are a smart guy. Utapata hizo policy baadaye. We malizana na sisi hapa. And they will say, okay, but to be honest, to be fair to you, this is democracy. Tuaga ina line mbili. Wale watu wanataka pesa, sisi utupe tuende, wale wanataka policy wabaki wasikie. That is what this guy is saying. That when you go to real politics, not boardroom politics, where you have AC and you have cookies and you have chocolate and you are discussing democracy in Africa and you have charts and white walls and you have PowerPoint and you are projecting. Who is projecting? Do you have a presentation and you slot it there and it project democracy and whatever? All those are boardroom democracy. Kwa ground things are
different.
And he's saying the reality is, ukifika huko, before umalize, the lines zimeformiwa. Girls, men, women, tumalizie. Even this BBI, ebu enda kwa grassroots ati unawambia BBI ni mbaya and you don't give them money. That's why Deep is running from saying no. You can't sustain that. It's unsustainable. It's very pragmatic. It won't work. It can work here in a small press conference where you have 5 microphones. But on the grassroots, watasikia waseme nye hiyo kitu ni mbaya. Sasa fanya hivi mzee. Tupe kitu. And that is what he's saying, that if democracy is about the choice of the people, have they not chose that is how they want to do their politics? So if you want to do politics there, isn't it silly to come with the politics you want rather than the politics that is there? And the politics that is there is the politics of, we don't care about ideology. Somebody said here, there is nothing like good meaning Kenyans. We don't care about your ideology. I care about nini, because people have also lost confidence in politicians. Unaenda, unakula, so mimi payana yangu sahi, tumalizane, we uende ufanye nini? Ukule. That is what this guy is articulating. He's saying, you know, and I like what he's saying. This guy is sharp, one. Let the accent don't fool you. Let the accent, this guy is a genius. Obote did great things in Uganda, lost power twice. Idi Amin was such a good leader. Forget all these movies kina nani wamefanya hapa ati sijui anakula roho ya watu. Yes, there are some moments that he messed up. But at the end of the day, he didn't know how to keep power. Museveni received power, is keeping power. Opposition is just here in Kampala. The rest of the places, they are saying we are comfortable with Museveni. He only reminds them is when I was in Jinja, they told me, bwana ushasikia bunduki ikipigwa hapa Jinja, unaisikia na Busia Kenya. We, wacha Museveni akae hapa. So that is their choice. And that is what he's saying, that at the end of the day, as long as you go, you know, you go to politics, you think people will buy ideas, and then you get heartbroken. Know that there is not about ideas. Philosopher in the university, write books, come to shows like this and spew the ideas. When you go to grassroots, be pragmatic.
Lucia, your thoughts?
The gentleman has articulated clearly the problems of elections in Africa. Not only in Uganda, in Africa in general, kwa sababu those are the same problems that we have to deal with here in Kenya. I, however, don't think it's all doom and gloom as as he says. It gets to a point where people now realize, bana, this thing is not working, you know? And it only takes 3% of the population to realize that in order to change. Just 3%. Not even a very huge number. So it is true. Watu hawata kusikiza by the way ka uendi kuwapea do. And it's upon our generation to now find creative ways of dealing with that. Because like he said, utaenda utaongea huko vitu zote utasema ni poor, people will relate to everything you've said, but at the end of the day they want food on their table and you're not giving them that 200 bob to put food on their table for the day. And then it becomes a problem for them to even listen to you. So it's important for us to now start changing the model of politicking. We need to stop giving the handouts, but then it's a process and we have to start that process now, and the conversations that we are having amongst ourselves and around the country are very important. They are one way of starting that process. It might take us 100 years to get there, where people will not be looking for handouts from politicians, but at least we are doing something about it right now. I feel like our generation kind of understands better compared to the older generation, and maybe this is systemic because we are better, okay, not better. A majority of us are educated. Tuko na kisomo kidogo compared to the other generation. So we are kind of woke. We understand the repercussions of getting these handouts. We are in the process of trying to understand how that affects everything else in our life. So it's yeah, that's where we are. Hiyo ndio reality kwa ground, by the way. Hiyo tu ndio reality kwa ground. But there is a chance to change that. And that's why actually I'm very outspoken. You know, I like a challenge. So I'm challenging myself to be able to change the politics of this country. Just not just me, but me and other Kenyans who are like-minded.
You know, the more things change, the more they become the same. Statistics have not shown that younger people vote better than older people. Of course, our crowd, the people we hang out with, will be the people who think like us, and it is easier to hypothesize that that is the world. But there is statistics that is showing that the young people have not moved a single inch to how they vote. All this philosophy and all this issue-based are here until the 6 months to election, or 2 months, or 1 month. But I think that does not mean it is doomful. To me, I don't think that that means they are not issue-based. The people who are saying, give me a handout, are saying that is the issue I want. That's what the professor is saying. And if democracy is about the will of the people, that is the will that I want. Thy will be done. My will is that I will vote for whoever gives me money. That is democracy. And he's actually saying how foolish the idea of democracy is. And even the people who articulate democracy have said it has a lot of challenges, but it is the best the human can come with. So it's not perfect. What he's saying is that the democracy, has the big assumption that people will be voting, one, are not starving. That is not our case. That is not going to be our case soon. Democracy have a big assumption that people voting are aware. That is not our case. Even with this BBI, when we go for referendum, more people will be signing. Do you think there are people who will have read the BBI? Biton. The people will be coming to sign in those tents as they dance, whether it is reggae.
Probably I've never even seen it.
Will they be the people who will have read the documents? But they will have been expressing the Wanjiku or the will of the people.
The people.
So democracy was based on some underpinning that are not quickly identifiable in our society. One, because we are starving. Two, because of illiteracy or lack of information. And three, because of our tribal formation. Do you know what this guy is saying? It's what I've said. Civil society, sijui media, fourth estate, sijui this political science department, sijui rule of law, all this these things have not checked this country. Tribalism is what runs this country. And that's the articulation of BBI. He's saying, let us not pretend. The life of Kenya under a conference room is different from the life of Kenya in Lokichoge on the ground. Where sijui vuguvugu la nini sijui. No, at the end of the day, people are pragmatic. and people vote for their interest, and that interest means whoever give me money. So as we articulate these ideas and ideals, you know, you can't treat it if you don't know the problem. He's not happy. In fact, he might appear, you know, people hate a herald of bad news. He's not saying this is how it should be. He's saying that is how it is. Real. Move from there, beat it, accept it. Then you can cure it. If you have a magical way of curing it, fine. If you find that donors can give you money to donate and you are a good candidate, come donate that money and be elected. Go to parliament and do the good job. If you have professionals, how many times do we collect money for each other when they want to run? Why? Because we know the reality. Collect that money from your fellow professionals. Collect that money from diaspora. Bring that money to the ground. Play that game. Get to parliament and do the right thing.
But have they been doing the right thing? Question for Anand.
The right thing depends with whom you ask. Of course, the field is so much mad. There is tribalism, there is party, there is whatever. And at the end of the day, we either choose the world we want to lie to ourselves about, or the reality we are living. That is a reality check. And to me, I would rather take that shock therapy every time, as painful as it is. I would rather take that chill pill and know that this is the reality.
So, Daktari, you say our politics are based on tribal, yeah? Tribalism, yeah? Yeah, right, correct, yeah?
Yeah.
We've also agreed on this show that we have a whole new generation, Generation Z, that does not subscribe to tribalism.
Where's your data on that? Apart from just that it's a good thing and it sounds good. Because I'm telling you, the data shows.
We have agreed on this show.
But we don't make facts. We can agree, but facts.
Yeah, in our opinion, we have agreed in this show that
you and Bitok.
Generation Z, no, you included. I'm looking at you, Dr.
I wasn't in that meeting.
Generation Z is not really tribalistic. So it shocks me when one day you have faith in the new generation, then the next day you don't, and you're crowding them with the rest of the stupid Kenyans who've gotten us here. It kind of shocks me.
Stupid Kenya. Yeah, of course I know you are saying the old thinking, isn't it? But I'm telling you, Ayala, that statistic after statistic shows that even in the previous election, young people, this generation, which one is it?
Why?
Generation Y. We are running out of alphabet, as I can see with these generations. This so-called Generation Y did not vote according to issues in the last election.
They actually did not vote. I included. I did not vote.
They were not eligible?
No, we were. We just don't care. But let me ask you a question, Daktari, because this brings me back to my point. When you're looking at me and you want to explain to me the effects of tribalism and corruption and how handouts are denying me public services, and you want to explain the same thing to my mother or your mother, who is going to easily understand and comprehend that which you're saying?
My mother.
Your mother, yeah?
And you know why?
So why is it hard then for your mother to translate her comprehension of what you're saying into better voting?
This is the generation that fought for multi-party.
Exactly.
My mother's generation. This is the generation that united to say Moi must go.
Yes.
This generation of my mother, you know, I'm not equating education to ability to understand vitu.
Okay.
It is not usually, it can be, but it's not usually transferable. If you went to the village, and I'm challenging you, if you went to the village and sat on that stone, or went to Kibera and find those people in the Mtaa and hear the articulation of issues, the understanding of the issues, then now take a conversation to Java, where there is the so-called middle class, or a little bit people who are educated. Hear their dumbness. You will know that education has no direct correlation to understanding of the political issues.
Why are you assuming the people in Kibra and the people in the village do not have an education?
No, generally,
I sit with young people from Mathare, the slum, Mathare 4A, Mathare 10. I sit with young people from Kawangware. I sit with young people from Kibra. And trust me, the way these young people in these areas articulate themselves is better than a young person in Karen Wood.
Then we are agreeing. But I'm saying
Exactly.
in the rural, people have urban rural migration. Most people who have educated go work in the out of the village. So if I find people who live in the village generally, unless you have come for vacation, and that is the challenge we have in this country, then generally there are population. Of course there will be outliers, but there are population who most of them are not either looking for something in the city because they didn't go to school. Generally, we are generalizing. So that population and even the older population, all of a sudden you're saying this generation Z or Y did not even vote. So they didn't even know why voting is important. You know, these people are not young. We started voting at 19. So why do you think somebody who don't even know why voting is important is better off and better civilized than somebody who go to vote for tribe?
Prof, it's not about not knowing that voting is important. It's about knowing that even if you vote, it will not reflect your will.
And their will is...
That is why my generation and the generation after did not vote. That is why my generation and the generation after are not interested in politics. That is the difference between my generation and the older generation. Because the older generation still believes that they can tweak here and tweak there and fix a problem. My generation believes that we need to uproot the whole system. And when we start sending them messages to that effect, then they can relate to what we are saying. And trust you me, they're going to vote better. Because my generation is educated and that education is transferable to choices.
What is
the problem is, no, let me tell you something.
The literacy rate in Kenya?
I don't know. I don't know what the literacy rate in Kenya
But
is.
you feel they're more educated?
Let me tell you. Yeah, because I engage with them on a
How
weekly
many do you
basis.
engage with in a weekly basis?
Yeah.
On average, how many?
On a weekly basis, I sit with 14 young people.
14 young
I've
people
been
on a
doing
weekly
this for the
basis.
past 4 months.
And for 4 months, so let's say you have sat with about 14 times 4. That is 62 times 1 year. Let's give you 1 year, which is 320. So you have sat with about 12,000 young people.
Okay, so assuming out of the 14 people I sit with every week, I sit with 14, yeah? Those are 14
And
that I have
random.
sat with. Yeah, random.
In Nairobi.
So, assume, now I want you to assume.
We have 4 minutes to
From
close
that
that.
14,
2 minutes.
Each one is gonna get another 14. Create a pyramid scheme now.
Out of it.
Stop putting hurdles where they are not, Ojwang. Look at the possibilities.
Don't patronize this generation. Nobody owns a generation.
You're the one who's patronizing this
We
generation.
are in the same generation.
And stop
Don't own the
calling.
generation.
And stop calling.
I know where that is going. I know where that is going. So
Generation.
I'll read the comment.
Stop calling Wanjiku Mikora because our generation sio
Hakuna
Wakora.
generation.
It is not.
Don't patronize. You don't own generation.
All right, that's all the comments to go.
You're
We
actually
are in this world together. Which generation do you own?
Ay, Gavalia Babala.
you're actually patronizing me, and it is a shame on you this morning. Shame on you, Professor Ojwang.
Order.
Shame on you tomorrow.
Order.
Stop patronizing
Order.
me.
Jamaliel Babaya. All right, guys.
I am the wrong one. I will defend my generation. You and your neonatal thinking can go and swallow a big G somewhere.
All right, guys.
I'm not going to allow you to
Calm
patronize me,
down.
and I'm not going to allow
Calm
you to
down, guys.
bully me.
Calm down.
You're smart, and so am I.
Calm down, guys.
All
Calm
of
down.
us in this table are smart.
Calm down,
but
guys. Calm down, guys.
Don't think you're better than
Guys.
me. If there's a better person in this room, it has to be me.
Guys.
We are all equal. But if there's a better
But you
person,
don't own
it's
a
going to be
generation.
me. I have not said I own generation.
Guys,
and
calm
they do
down.
not own my mouth.
This is not. This, all right, guys.
Stop
Guys.
patronizing me. Why
Guys,
are
all
you
right.
bullying?
I've invited you guys. You can.
Because
Okay.
I said no.
Sakwanke Blackard says, Dr. Ojwang, you are facing a real brain and wisdom. Lucia Ayala will finish you completely. Leo Duncan. Right. Richard Bera Sama Lucia Ayala on this debate of generation democracy. You won't win. Sometimes Sama Allah. In politics, the end justifies the means. General Rama says, I beg to differ with Amicus Duncan. Kenya, as shown, we can rise up to the occasion with Kibaki government and also the constitution referendum. When we have something at stake, we band together. Pauline, General, politics ni masomo. Politics ni masomo. Politics ni mpangilio. pointing to some politics is for the sly, not for the straight. It's on the comments of the Tanzania. There's some Marshall says the guy is genius, but on the axis of evil, it's zero-sum game. Instead of encouraging true democracy in Uganda, is perpetuating nonsense and stupidity. There is a comment on the video. Dan Leo Lucia and Smart, he has she thought of going for a serious political seat. He talked about the reality, but most of the realities we have make our lives miserable. That is why we aspire for better ways of doing things. We go to school, we learn, we listen to tackle. It is what we want, a better reality. That is why we work hard. We would get our kids and we still good morals and character. Our reality today doesn't have to be our future reality. Naona mtu anasema sijui kuna watu wagonjwa low family. That's not really important. Steve says I completely agree with this guy. Very sharp. Red pill things. Isaac Chepkeda some great show. Kokweta asante sana. Kiprono Osea. Honorable Mohammed Yusuf makes a lot of sense. The end game is keeping power. Inshallah by 2023 we would have known BBI is a scam. Naona pia Sagom lazima Stockholm syndrome is real. The Ugandan shows how in a deep abyss Uganda is. He has been indoctrinated and doesn't fight for the basic democratic rights and human rights. I am disappointed man today. My brothers in Uganda and Tanzania, kweli kuna shida. The speaker is what ails. The speaker is what ails our beloved motherland. Unfortunately, this is the situation in most African nations. Even the people are the problem. Martin Jogo, I'm really grateful to you, Dr. Nini Tana. David Silma, if the protest is loud, does this mean the constitution can be amended? 11B down the drain and there is no baby. There's a tire meshaenda and we are not seeing any baby. If there is any country that needs constitution moment is Uganda and Tanzania. Actually it needs BBI. Edwin Maisama ikitu haitaki hasira. Let's tackle each other calmly. Yes, they'll be calm. They'll become very civil. Ronnie Ansama, our chief Ekla is true and that's our stand as Generation Y. This current system needs a total uproot. Next to Ansama watching. Evans Kidasama, calm down. Ayala. Ronnie Ansama, please calm down guys. Alright. Kidasama learned education. Lucia on the collar. Evans kasema kumewaka moto mara moja. Moto imewaka, nimewazimia kidogo ili tuweze kuendelea. Anyway guys, we are already at 2 hours sharp. Acha tuchukue tackle of the day. Lucia, what's your tackle of the day?
I want to tackle the person who's sitting right next to me. Who do you speak for when you speak?
Let's not revisit that.
No,
Lucia,
who do you speak for when you speak?
That.
Because when I speak, I speak for a generation of young people who I can relate to, whose issues I have sat and taken time to understand. When someone comes and tries to diminishes the problems of 20 million young people in this country, him being one of them, acting as if he was born in 1900, acting as if he's 100 years old, acting as if he does not relate to the problems that we relate to, acting as if he does not have the challenges that young people have in this country. It is hypocrisy of the highest order. And today I am calling you out on your bullshit, Professor Duncan Ojwang.
No, let's be civil. Let's be civil.
Speak for young people.
Let's be civil. Let's be civil.
For young people.
Please.
We cannot be fighting the system and still behaving like the system. This generation Y that you say I'm not entitled to, and rightfully so, I do not own any generation. I do not own anyone. But I have a voice that represents that generation. Who does your voice represent? Find someone to represent and represent them the right way that they should be represented. You cannot be demonizing young people and saying that you're fighting against the evils of the government, because the government speaks about young people the same way that you have spoken here today, and I am ashamed.
All right. Ojwang.
I remember one person told me, speak to the hand because my ears cannot hear you. I hope that's not the day today. I think that we say that if you can control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about their action. When you determine what a man shall think, you do not have to concern yourself about what he will do. If you make a man feel that he's inferior, or a woman, you do not have to compel them to accept an inferior status, for he will see it himself or herself. I think that in this generation, the new broom sweeps clean, but the old brooms knows the corners. As an African child, I think I defer to my senior, respect, elders. Those are values that we cannot gainsay. I think that this generation is up to something, but you must first understand what you are up against. Glossing over it is not going to be a solution. We are in a generation that is distracted. You are watching more Netflix and foreign movies than your local content. You are listening to more music and distracted by the so-called globalization and global citizen than your local problem. Please come to our local issues, understand them, own them, and look at what you can do. I think as citizens, there is a lot that can be done. People have tried, older generation have tried. So far, there is no statistic showing as young people you are voting any better than older people. You need to distinguish yourself. Learn from the older people. You don't make this world, you inherit it from those who are there. The people like Orengo stood up, our university student at the age of 20 and whatever stood up. This is no time for you to be in your video game and silly basement. Stand up and speak. I don't care whether you disagree with me or not, but at least speak. I will always defend your right to speak. I will always protect your voice, because the more voices we have, the better. Let us not have an ego where if somebody disagrees with you, then that's the end of the world. I think disagreements are there. It is okay. It is healthy. Be outspoken. I would rather you speak than keep quiet. And together, please be vocal. If you see something wrong, say it. If you see something right, say it. But let nobody patronize you. I speak for the wood. I also speak for the tree. I speak for the young people. I speak for the disabled because I'm a child of this country. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Joang and Lucia. Kwa kuja. Let's be civil. I mean, we can choose to disagree, but let's be respectful. That is actually the basis of debate. Debate is not supposed to be a fighting ground or a battleground. I did not create a battleground. I created a place for conversations.
If it's bullshit, Gerald, I'm going to call it bullshit.
Let's not get back there, Lucia, please. All right, let's be civil and respectful in the way we engage. Asante sana. Dr. Takla sasa kwa kuja naona Jeresu kwa sema, let me just read a few comments as I wrap up the show. Nick Tado anasema watching. Ronnie anasema achieve class true, that's our stand as generation now. I think I read that. Edwin Barili anasema hiki tu itaki yesterday sta kwa Richard Kamle. Jedrodis Okango Oko Lucia amekasirika, but how do you change politics if you don't vote wisely? Vote Lucia seriously. Doesn't care. Ron anasema let Daktari and Lucia disagree amicably, not taking it personal. I agree. Tuache bana. Ron Ian anasema we have a big disconnect with current leadership. Joshua Sapura anasema yela wacha hasira, hii maneno ni pole pole. Ironia how does Dr. speaks for? He has already said he speaks for the wood. I don't know the trees. All right. But yes, Generation C are emotional and they think by boycotting elections it will help. Emmanuel Kipsang says Lucia twende pole pole. Evans Kitan says the racks calm down. Atana Kipsang pia to Rono Ian says wow, today's tackle was late. Let's engage more on how to retrieve ourselves from the current mess currently facing us. Good day guys, and I love you all. We love you too. Jerodi Sokongo anasema Lucia don't be emotional. Isi asaitaki hasira. If it's true you talk to youth like you are saying you want them to change Kenyan politics, then start encouraging them to vote, and that's how you change politics. Otherwise other people will continue electing wrong leaders for you and you'll continue lamenting in, year out. Evans Kitasama, let's agree to disagree with decorum. At the end of the day we are all fighting for a better life for everyone. Viva. Polinchero Sama Lucia, you should respect other panelists. Loud advice is not leadership. Please inspire, do not intimidate the others. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining us. This is a tackle and the tackle ends now. Hope to see you again tomorrow. Bye bye and take care. Have a great day. We love you.